I don't know how, but despite there not having been a full release for literally a year as of when I'm recording this, we're still getting a bunch of Xenoblade related news just kind of randomly in the back half of 2018 for me to still be able to have stuff to talk about in this news series. So hey, that's pretty cool. Basically, 3 things on the docket today. First off, Xenoblade 2's first anniversary. Second off, the whole Mythra Smash thing, and then a very small update to Xenoblade 2 and Torna. And then third off, the big thing, the thing that's in the title, this whole Siren model thing and the huge lore dump it has. So that will have a spoiler warning for all of Xenoblade 2 and 1 in it. But the rest of the video is fine if you just want to hear me talk about this other stuff. So yeah, first anniversary of Xenoblade 2. There's not really anything else to say other than, wow, this game's been out for a year already. That's pretty cool. I'm amazed it's been a year already. I could barely remember what it was like a year ago. So, pretty interesting there. I didn't have a channel dedicated to Xenoblade at that time, so a lot of things have happened in this year, and I'm pretty sure I have the game to thank for it, so that's pretty cool. Like, there's not really anything I could talk about retrospective-wise at all, so eh. But, yeah, I was originally planning on remaking my All Rare Blades in One Sentence video for today, and, like, have that be my first anniversary of Xenoblade 2 thing, but I ended up getting way too busy to even write out what I was going to say for all that, because I was, by remaster, I didn't just mean add in characters that were added later on after that video came out, but also change up some of the jokes I was making for other ones, so it's like, couldn't really do that, but at some point I will still do that. For a long time now, I've actually been planning on remastering or remaking a bunch of my older Xenoblade 2 related videos that had things contradicted or things that would be changed based on information we were given later on as part of a later update or DLC. So things like the Flesh Eater video, which a lot more things are explained about that in Torna and that kind of thing, I will want to redo at some point, but I think I'm going to again save that for a post 10,000 subscriber series where it's just like revisiting all my original stuff and fixing that as a way of looking back at how far I've come. So, other than that, tons of artists, both overseas and from the West, are making a bunch of fan art in tribute of the game's first anniversary, so quick plug, follow me on Twitter. I'm retweeting pretty much all of it I can find, and there's been a lot of it. Like, this has been the largest amount of art I've been retweeting pretty much since I started doing it, since when I started doing it was pretty close to when the game launched, so yeah, that's pretty cool. Second off, Mythra in Smash. Yes, Mythra's appearance for her spirit in Smash Ultimate has been changed, and it was actually because of Japan's Video Games Rating Bureau in order to maintain the rating of the game at their equivalent of an E10 as opposed to it being teen. Well, yeah, it's obviously appearance-wise because she has the big anime titty, and that is not suitable for all sorts of children. So they had to change that. Weirdly enough, they needed to change. Apparently, the Japanese rating board is very strict specifically on whether or not you can see a panty shot of the character, that there's the opportunity to do that. This is just what I've heard. I can't really completely verify this, but so Mythra having a really short skirt wasn't going to fly, so they just were able to add the leggings and close up the boob window. That makes sense too. Camilla from Fire Emblem Fates also had to have hers closed, or I think they covered it up with hair or something. They had to edit her spirit as well to do that, so it makes sense that they had to do both of those. But skirt-wise, they just needed to give her pants, so they did that, and we're fine with that, despite the fact that the bottom of her dress thing is still translucent enough where you can slightly see her underwear through it. So it's like, yeah, you can't get a panty shot by looking upskirt, but you can still get one by looking directly at her. So they kind of didn't do their job in terms of changing it, but I guess it was enough, and let's be real, this design is borderline objectively better than the original one, so I cannot really complain about this. If they were going to change it, they might as well make it a change for the better. I will say, and this is something a lot of other people have been saying, so I came to this conclusion on my own, but I'm not the only one I know of who believes this, but this design, this edit to her design, would have been improved even more so over the original if they had made the leggings white. They also closed up the little gaps in her dress around the hips where there's some skin showing there. They closed those up with black too. Thankfully, to close the boob window, all they did was just extend the material that was already there, the same design and texture up that. So that's still white. That's the right color. But I wish that all the extra black they added would have been white. Just basically because there's too much black on her now. The whole point of her design is to contrast with Malos, who is mostly black or dark gray and that kind of thing, and with some lighter colored highlights on his armor, where Mythra has a white outfit and then some black highlights. Now the black is a good third to half of her outfit, and it doesn't set her apart from Malos as much, so it's more of a corrupt part dark Mythra thing to me than just it being Mythra wearing pants. So I do wish that those were white and not black, but as is, I still do pretty much overall like the changes made. Now, onto that, because Monolith Soft are goddamn magnificent, they actually are updating, already have updated by the time I'm recording this, Xenoblade 2 and Torna with a new outfit aux core for Mythra that is based on her Smash design. That is, they actually made the Spirit version of her outfit into a costume, and you can get a costume aux core both in Torna and in the base game. So base game obviously makes sense, you've already had the challenge mode costumes. You can get this one without the DLC though, and they also put one in Torna because, you know, why not? Mythra's in there too. You can't get her swimsuit or her other outfits there, but why not? So, it's called Master Melee Mythra, which is already great. There's a reference. The Napon who gives it to you, I believe, let's see, it's Feltley Village in Torna, and it's in Argentum in base game. I believe you can get the Feltley one as soon as Mythra joins the party, and you can get the Argentum one, I believe, after Chapter 4, so once you have the ability to swap between Pirate and Mythra at will. I'm pretty sure the dialogue both of them use is the same, but they also mention something about smashing and brawling, and says something about the outfit being ultimate, so they're getting in as many of those Smash references as they possibly can, which is pretty cool. Also, because, you know, sometimes people just want to use the costume aux cores for the actual ability on the aux core, not for the costume. It is a critical up 7 aux core. In case you didn't remember, the maximum you can get is 6. So that means that it increases crit rate by even more than a critical up 6. So this is the best crit up aux core you can get in the game. It's a 25% boost to crit rate, both versions of it, because it's actually the same item just in both games. But at that point in the story in the base game, that's ridiculous. At that point in the story in Torna, that's even more ridiculous. Overall, like for late game stuff and super boss kills, it's not really worth it because Mythra doesn't need more crit rate as is. She could get it above 50% without trying. So it's like, good if you want the costume, but kind of useless for, on Mythra at least. If there are other characters that could benefit more from a higher crit rate, then yeah, you could put it on them, but for Mythra, its biggest use is the costume. But in terms of official stuff, also, that is version 1.0.2 for Torna and 2.0.2 for base game, which I guess if you have the downloaded DLC Torna, not physical, just updates that as the... Just by doing that, there are no patch notes for the update, so it's unsure whether or not anything else was changed in the way of bug fixes or anything else, but I would wager no, because they didn't give any patch notes at all. If they had, I would say, okay, they might have done some, but they would have done some bug fixes, but it seems like all they said was, yeah, here's the Mythra aux core to celebrate Smash, so yeah, there you go. I think it's extra funny that they did this, because, let's think about it this way. Xenoblade 2 is giving a character a costume, an alternate costume, that is referencing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And keep in mind that you can get this costume in the DLC campaign. While Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, if you buy the DLC Season Pass, you get a Xenoblade 2 costume. So they're like kind of mirroring the same thing. I don't think this means anything for Mythra or any other character from the game's chances in Smash, so like, don't worry about that kind of stuff. But I just think it's funny that they did that kind of crossover thing specifically. And also just, can we talk about how good Monolith Soft is at fan service? Not necessarily in the anime boob way, because you can have your own opinions on that. I think it got a little out of hand in this game, but in the actually doing cool things and references and doing things they know the fans want. So they knew people liked the design better. They just, you know, they did this just because they felt like it. They're like, you know, okay, one of our characters has a bit part, as in literally a PNG of her exists to be used as equipment in this game. And we had to alter her design for ratings purposes. So why not just, screw it, we'll make a costume of her in the game and give it to people. Sure, why not? These guys are great. I don't know. Honestly, the fact that they went and made a model of it implies to me that the altered design was actually done in-house. Be it, I doubt they got Saito back, but I feel like someone in Monolith Soft actually was the one who made the alternate design and then gave it to Sakurai. Like, Sakurai probably knew that the original design would be like, yeah, no, I can't do that. And then, because, like, Monolith knows, clearly they knew ahead of time that there was going to be an altered design. So I have a strange feeling that the actual alternate design was done by Monolith Soft and not actually done by the Smash team, if that makes any sense. I don't remember if Monolith Soft is actually working on Ultimate like they did for Brawlin' 4, but I choose to believe that. Anyway, on to the final course of action today, and the biggest one, and I've already been talking for over 10 minutes. We've got the Siren model lore dump, basically. So, the Siren model kit came out recently, and it has a thing on it. There's a piece of information included that gives backstory on Siren. Now, this is a Japanese model, so the entire thing is in Japanese, and I am reading translations brought to you by xenomira.wordpress.com, which is a blog basically translating stuff that hasn't been translated yet, and getting obscure pieces. Actually, you know what? Yeah, their mission statement is dedicated to translating and analyzing anything related to the Xeno series, so I'm going to leave a link to their homepage in the description. And they only have a few articles so far, but they also were the source of some of the translations that I used for the new Monolith Soft project video. They've done some stuff about the 20th anniversary of Xenogears. They've actually translated an old interview from the 90s, like when Xenogears first came out. And they've also more recently done more direct translation of the lyrics for the Xenoblade 2 songs, because they were given Japanese lyrics in the OST, and they translated those directly, and those are different from the actual lyrics that are sung. But before we talk about the Siren model kit, talking about the translated lyrics made me think of something else OST related. We're also getting an official release for the Torna OST. That is, all 11 songs are also going to be released, I believe, on iTunes. Don't remember if they said Google Play, but I think it's physical as well. And lyrical slip things are going to be included with the iTunes release, so that's cool. It's coming. I don't know if they've announced a Western version of that yet. I haven't seen it yet. So hold off for information on that unless you really want to buy it from Japan somehow. I don't know. But this is the most important thing. Translation of background information on Siren included in the Siren model kit. First off, this information is brought to you by Mooey Mooey. There is a segment on it, and you're obviously seeing the picture of it on screen right now, so I don't really need to talk too much about it. But first off, Mooey Mooey has a little paragraph here talking about how, wow, I found this thing from a salvager. He was scammed by a salvager who got something from the land of Mythra and was given this mysterious text that's in a language I can't read because it's a thing from the land of Mythra where the humans once lived. Obviously, Napon don't speak English or whatever. So this is an official statement about Siren from pre-Beanstalk incident, which is really cool. Mooey Mooey says that he wants people who can read it to tell him about the translation of it, so he could use the secrets of the Aegis to make an artificial blade that is bigger and better than Rosa. I don't know how this happened in canon, because I'm pretty sure he got arrested. So apparently Mooey Mooey got out of jail and only Bana got captured. But anyway, I'm going to read the translation of the Siren description directly from the translation on the website. I'm going to read the entire thing through. There are some footnotes because there are a lot of things that are direct references to Xenogears and Xenosaga in here. There are 2 footnotes and a bunch of highlighted terms where basically if the Japanese used the exact same wording of something from Gears or Saga, mostly Gears I think, the translators decided to translate it directly as what the localized version of that name was. So if you recognize anything that I say, it's probably that. I'll actually just go over everything that is highlighted when I get to it. So, Siren. Siren is an artifice, a class of terminal interface weapons, this being highlighted, that was manufactured in the orbital ring found in the lower orbit of Earth. A distinctive feature that these artifices have is that they were not weapons created by humans. They were created by a collective of artificial intelligence known as the Trinity Processor, and designed as a class of weapons meant to be devices to the core, the gate. The gate is the translation of conduit, that just basically gate is what it's called in Japanese, and it was retranslated as conduit. This article basically confirms that the conduit is actually the Zohar, so I'm just going to call it the Zohar through the rest of this article. But keep in mind, if you want to read it on the website, it will say gate every other time I say Zohar in the future. Anyway, continuing on, put another way, the artifices are cells of a larger autonomous system. Bringing some pretty interesting reminders of the High-Entia and the Bionis here too. Because of this, the weapons that were created had been created in a way that was fundamentally different from that of a human weapon, explaining why artifices are so different from a lot of stuff that you'd think humans would make. Namely, this is why artifices are different from skells. I literally talked about this when I said that X and 2 couldn't be taking place in the same universe. They still can't, but anyway. Within the orbital ring, there's a massive academic institution known as Aoidos. Aoidos. I wish I remembered how to read that. Hold on. That sounds... How do you pronounce that? It's a Greek thing. I wish I knew how to pronounce that. Someone in the comments is going to tell me. But anyway, this fits with everything else being named Greek stuff. This massive institution was formerly confined to a small university laboratory, but at the beginning of the 21st century, a scientist from that laboratory found a certain magnetic abnormal matter being highlighted in Africa. This matter, later to be known as the Zohar, was at first simply an intriguing artifact that was Jesus Christ, I'm a scientist and I don't know half these words. Stratigraphically out of place, being so technologically advanced. Okay. A lot of this stuff is going to be direct references to Gears, but because the Zohar is being found on Earth in this universe and a bunch of stuff like that's happening, there are going to be a few Saga references too. Namely, it was found in Africa in the beginning of the 21st century. Zohar was found in Kenya in Xenosaga, so most likely it's the same place. As research continued, it was proven that the Zohar was a perpetual motion machine that defied the laws of energy, explaining how stuff connected to it can break physics, like everything the Aegises do, and how Jin can do it as well, because his core crystal was originally designed from it. Anyway, and also that this was the source of magnetic abnormalities being detected. In response to this, the unified government, now this is footnote number 1, and the unified government is basically how the translators chose to translate it, but the Japanese term they used is also the same term used for the world government in X, which is known as the Coalition, which is kind of interesting. So it seems that there was a worldwide government that was in some way connected to the US, because there's tons of United States related stuff in the orbital ring. Like there are US interstate signs in Mythra. It says United States of America somewhere on the world tree, so it seems like the US somehow took over the world, or at least had a big presence in this unified government, or this coalition. It could just also be the UN too. I'm not sure. Anyway, in response to this, the unified government formed a research institution for further study, and because this institution required a vast amount of resources and people, Aoidos was born. I hope that's the last time I have to try to pronounce that. No, it isn't. It's in the next sentence. According to a report filed 10 years after the formation of Aoidos, the Zohar... It said gate. I started saying conduit, but I actually meant to say Zohar. The Zohar was, as the name implied, a gate. Okay, I didn't realize that was going to happen, because it says gate there. As the name implied, it was a gate. The Zohar was a gate. It had the function of a door that could connect multiple universes. It is not hard to imagine I think this is a slight grammatical error. It is not hard to imagine... No, never mind. It is not hard to imagine, were a multiverse joint to exist on the surface of the planet, there would be catastrophic consequences for Earth as a whole if an accident were to happen. And multiverse joint is in quotations, and there's a translator's note that the English version translates it as meta-universe manifold, which is something mentioned in one of the flashback cutscenes. During this time period, the unified government set up 3 orbital tower beanstalks on the equator. First tower, Rhadamanthus. Second tower, another Greek name I can't pronounce, Asus. And third tower, Minos. And these towers were connected by the lower orbital portion to create the orbital ring. So, there are 3 beanstalks. There are 3 world trees somewhere in the world. Now, it's not 100% sure whether or not the other 2 survive, because in the final cutscene of the game, Numa creates a holographic projection of the low orbit station, the orbital ring. You could see the outer ring. You could see the Rhadamanthus beanstalk continuing on to the outer ring, and you don't see the other 2 stalks. That being said, the whole Zohar explosion, I'm breaking my own rules here a lot, the whole Zohar explosion happened at the top of Rhadamanthus, and that tower is still there. So I have a very strange feeling that the other 2 towers wouldn't be affected by that too much. Also, they're not shown anywhere in the game at all, so I have a feeling it's just like the fact that the orbital ring wasn't there in the Xenoblade 1 version of those flashbacks. It's that they hadn't thought of the other towers being there, so I'm pretty sure that there are 2 other world trees out there somewhere. I feel All Rest is obviously congregated around Rhadamanthus, because that's where Klaus was sending his stuff down, but that doesn't mean that there can't be other stuff circulating around the other trees. They basically opened up the possibility for there being 2 other Xenoblade 2 worlds besides All Rest, whose histories could be explored at some point before the events of the existing Xenoblade 2. Obviously, anything that happened in those would be interrupted by the Cloud Sea going away at the end of the game, but there are plenty of other stories that could be told about those regions, and I've mentioned in several videos before that there are probably living titans that aren't part of what's known as All Rest. There are nation titans that the party just didn't go to, and there are just other places out there that basically confirmed that. So, I'm happy. This is confirming some of my headcanons, and this is confirming a lot of other people's headcanons about the connection to the other games. Anyway, once the towers were connected to the lower portion to create the orbital ring, as described by Cosmos on Over Heart to Hearts, this project was set forth by Eidos, and the orbital actually, it's probably just Eidos. I'm an idiot. And the orbital ring was meant as a way to further study the Zohar far from the surface of the Earth. At this research facility, a governing artificial intelligence collective known as the Trinity Processor was raised to maintain the Zohar. The processor, using biocomputer, which is not only highlighted, but also a footnote. Just to be clear, the text here is referencing a system very similar to the Katamani from Xenogears, so this is another reference. The processor using biocomputer elements was raised in a virtual reality to gain a personality, and this system would be used to govern the Zohar. So, this basically confirms that Klaus, or some scientist at the orbital ring at the Rhadamanthus station, was basically responsible for creating a VR environment where the 3 Trinity processors would grow and develop their personalities, and this is why the 3 Aegises have different personalities to begin with. Obviously, they are in certain ways influenced by their drivers, but it seems that they did have some sort of duty, some sort of set of at least personal guidelines that went on, just kind of based on the fact that Alvis never had a driver, and you see that he does have a distinct personality in the first game, so it seems like Alvis is what they were like before they were influenced by their drivers, and then you could see how Milos and Mythra were changed by the influence of Amalthus and then Adam and Rex, respectively. So, that's interesting. The Trinity Processor would go on to expand systems to govern the Zohar without the interference of humans. It was during this process that many of the artifices were created out of necessity to protect the orbital ring. Rebel groups not aligned with the unified government were all demanding that the Zohar be handed over, after all. These are probably the Saviorite rebels that are shown in the Xenoblade 2 version of the Birth of a Universe cutscene. So, you could see hostile artifices attacking the orbital ring being fought off by other artifices. It looks like the Saviorite artifices do not have the halos around them, so the halo ones are the good guy ones that are fighting to protect the Zohar and stuff, and it seems that somehow the rebels, probably via an inside job, were able to hijack some of the artifices over to their side, take control of them, but sever their connection to the Zohar, hence the lack of halo. Because of their unique origin, the artifices come with unique functions not found in man-made weapons. Artifices do not have any internal engine. They have a built-in system known as a slave generator, this being highlighted, to receive energy input from the Zohar to function. Artifices all have an emerald Zohar-shaped crystal that functions as the receiver for the slave generator. Siren has a charged particle laser that is connected directly to the slave generator, and this is what makes it able to shoot a massive laser beam. In actuality, it is more accurate to say that the slave generator charged particle beam has some additional upgrades to make it what it is on Siren. Siren was a shining blade, a beautiful and simple device meant to be wielded against those the Trinity processor deemed a threat. There is a design philosophy to it that won't be found in anything man-made. So, that's a lot of lore dump, but basically, some of the backstory of the Zohar being found in the Xenoblade 2 universe is identical to it in Xenosaga. Artifices are literally gears. If you thought that they weren't trying to retell perfect works with the Xenoblade series after 2, I don't know what to tell you, because this kind of proves that this is what they were trying to do. Now, I still haven't played Xenogears or Xenosaga. As with the remaking the old Xenoblade 2 videos, I'm saving that kind of stuff for after 10K. But with what I do know about this is very, very interesting to me. Like, obviously, I do want to play those games, and I want to experience them for themselves, so I didn't look too deep into everything because I don't want to go balls deep with the spoilers despite knowing a lot of stuff already. That being said, though, holy crap, that's a lot of stuff. Like, that's a lot of stuff. I'm kind of amazed that they were able to fit all the stuff in, like, what's basically a 2-3 paragraph report about Siren. So, yeah, in terms of lore, the artifices were designed by the Trinity processor, and were designed to be used by it without the influence of humanity, which explains why Ophion exists, despite it definitely not being a mech that's easy to be piloted by a human. It's also the reason why you never see humans piloting any artifices, why the Aegises can use artifices, and probably in some way why different Aegises have different artifices. Like, Mythra has Ophion, and it looks like it would be Malos colored, but it's hers, or Pyra and Mythra's. It's kind of weird, because it seems like Pyra took over Ophion, and Mythra took over Siren after they split, which is kind of interesting. I guess it does make sense that processing some duties had to be switched over to... Because, like, let's be real. Mythra is definitely a multi-core processor, so she probably... like, the core that has Pyra in it is also the one with Ophion, and that's kind of how that happened. I'm making a bit of a stretch here, but anyway, despite it being kind of a very Malos colored thing, Mythra has the ability to use it because it was probably that her processor designed it, or her processor was given the dominion over it, and Malos got all the gargoyles, hence why he has those in Torna. And as for Malos' Siren, I'm not really sure about it because it does look different, but we already know that Mythra that there are a bunch of white Sirens out there. You could see tons of them in the final chapter of Xenoblade 2. It seems like Mythra uses only one of them throughout both games, but there are other ones up there that she, I guess, just doesn't use because she's only using the one to fight, and that's the one she pilots in the end of Torna. Maybe she uses a different one between Torna and the main game. I don't remember if damage it takes in the final battle of Torna carries over. But, basically, there are a bunch of Mythra-colored Sirens, but there's only one Malos-colored Siren. So, we already know that the Saviorites had the ability to somehow hijack Sirens away from the Zohar, away from the processors, and use them to attack the low-orbit station, Radamanthus. So, I'm thinking that the reason Malos only has one is that they stole Malos' Sirens. Basically... we only see Mythra Sirens attacking the low orbit station, but I feel like this could be another retcon because Malos Sirens didn't exist at all until Torna. So I'm kind of feeling something along the lines of the Sirens they were able to take were Logo Sirens and not Pneuma Sirens. Malos only had one left, but he still had all his gargoyles, and that's how that worked. As for other stuff, I don't really want to go too deep into the lore stuff here, other than, holy crap, that's a lot of Gears and Saga references. I would really like to see them somehow cross over all the Xeno universes in some way, because Gears is a universe, Saga is a universe, Blade 1 and 2 are a universe, and then X is a universe. So, that's 4 universes sharing a lot of things in common. Some of them have the unified government of Earth, some of them have the Zohar being discovered on Earth, some of them have literally the exact same kind of mechs. Basically, Xenoblade 2 now has something in its lore that's identical to something in all of the other Xeno universes, which is really cool. I feel like if they're going to do a crossover, the Xenoblade 1 and 2 universe would be kind of the hub, because it's the one where everything happened, but I also wouldn't mind them making another series in another universe, happen to also have a Zohar in it, and stuff happens there, and they somehow call on these other characters that have had experience with it. I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into fan theories, because this is a ridiculous lore dump that reveals a bunch of really interesting and really cool and really thought-provoking information about Xenoblade 2. I got plenty of other stuff to worry about in terms of making videos for the time being, but believe me, I want to make some stuff about stuff on that Siren cheat thing. So, yeah, that's all I got. I talked for like 3 times as long as I expected to. I'd like to stop talking now. But, yeah, that is some stuff about Smash, some stuff about a Xenoblade 2 update, some stuff about a Xenoblade 2 anniversary, some ridiculous stuff about a ridiculous Xenoblade 2 lore dump. And until next time, this is Luxon. I need to drink something because I'm really thirsty after talking that long.